Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be on Capitol Hill today trying to persuade law...
Time out. Hi, I'm Nick. I'm the maker of this video here in my garage. So it does say AI generated, but that's just a Snapchat filter. I was trying to stay true to my comedic endeavor, but I did not expect to come to the conclusion that I came to in this dissection of the rhetoric of Jim Acosta, should I say doctor? Dr. Jim Acosta of CNN and Dr. Peter Hotez. I'm a master of rhetoric. You can be the judge on that. I would suggest watching until the end. Thank you for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing. I do it for free, but it is my job. So thank you. And I'm sorry for ruining your day with this information.
The right person to lead the Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh, thank the pterodactyls! I am merely an unfrozen caveman lawyer, lawmaker. Your world frightens and confuses me, but I need guidance on vaccines.
Kennedy's outspoken criticism of vaccines that have saved millions of lives.
Objection! Leading!
Could be a major obstacle for his nomination. Let's bring in Dr. Peter Hotez. He's a professor and dean of tropical medicine at Baylor College of Medicine, as well as the co-director of the Center for Vaccine Development at Texas Children's Hospital. Dr. Hotez, great to see you again. We had you on all the time during the pandemic, and you were such a great voice for sanity.
Objection! Your honor, character, opinion.
During those days, it's great to have you back on. Your thoughts this morning, seeing RFK Jr. up on the Hill today?
Well, my big concern, Jim, is his staunch attacks on vaccines.
I know I'm just an unfrozen caveman, but it sounds to me like he's in the wrong interview. The voice for the voiceless interview is down the hall. They're a 501c3 innovation lab, launching movements to address the root causes of the bad thing we can't discuss. That starts with an A, and making motherhood thinkable for everyone.
And I've been dealing with this now for a couple of decades.
A couple of decades? We'll want to bookmark this comment for later reference.
Because I'm not only a vaccine scientist and a pediatrician, but I also have a daughter with my youngest daughter, Rachel, has autism and intellectual disabilities. And years ago, I wrote a book called Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism.
I know I'm just a caveman, but give me a moment. I'm going to go read this book.
To counter all of the false information, including a lot of disinformation.
Wait, what's the difference between false information and disinformation?
Coming from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his people and his organizations.
I can see why Dr. Peter Hotez is concerned. Because if RFK Jr. is confirmed, well, his organizations would be all of the Federal Health and Human Services.
And so that makes me concerned. And here's the reason why I'm concerned.
Do tell.
It's because of the potential implications for the public health of the people of the United States. With that kind of rhetoric now, we are already seeing, even before next year.
Before next year? That's an odd comment. What's happening next year that we should be... Is something happening next year?
We're already seeing a 5-fold rise in pertussis cases from 2023 to 2024. We're seeing a 4-fold rise in measles outbreaks from 2023 to 2024. We've got polio in the wastewater in 2022, meaning that we could see the return of polio as well. So this is an extremely fragile vaccine ecosystem.
Wait. What's a vaccine ecosystem. We'll have to get a call out to my office. Stay tuned on that.
It doesn't take it much to push it over the edge. And that's my concern, that with his being so aggressive against vaccines, this will cause major problems for the public health of our nation's children.
Yeah, and let's play some of the controversial things that RFK Jr. has said about vaccines. Let's listen and talk about it.
I do believe that autism does come from vaccines.
And Dr. Hotez, I mean, this is not going to be a mystery to Donald Trump. And what does it mean for expertise in the government if you have people leading these health agencies who aren't following the science, who aren't following what the experts have said for years?
Yeah, and I've spoken to RFK Jr. over the years, and beginning in 2017, and he doesn't understand the science. And I can tell you from my firsthand conversations with him that he's not interested in learning about the science. So the fact that, HHS has a lot of science-driven agencies. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is a science-driven agency. Same, of course, with the National Institutes of Health. Same with the CDC. And if he's going to continue to push that false narrative, and it's frustrating to deal with it because he keeps moving the goalposts. At first, he says it's the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine that's causing autism. Then he says he wrote in Rolling Stone magazine that it was thimerosal preservative. Then he says spacing vaccines too close together. Then it's alum vaccine. So it becomes this exhausting exercise with a lot of time and effort to not only refute his arguments, but also to invest in large epidemiologic studies showing that there's no link. And
Oh! Did he just say that?
But also to invest in large epidemiologic studies showing that there's no link. And
He just said that? He just said that on CNN? This is the kind of slop that they roll out to talk to the public? Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? He just said he doesn't want to do the science.
not only refute his arguments, but also to invest in large epidemiologic studies showing that there's no link. And
I read the book. I went and read the book about X and autism and vaccines. I got about halfway through the third chapter when I realized that nobody knows what causes it. Nobody even knows what it is. And he just said that he doesn't want to do He's a scientist that just said on television to Jim Acosta, what a journalist this man is. You just heard him say that? You just heard him say that. You just heard him say he's a scientist and doesn't want to do any science. That's what science is, testing stuff. I'm a caveman, how do you even know that? What is this? This is the kind of slop that they trot out there. Jim Acosta's a journalist, and Dr. Peter Hotez, Rockefeller puppet, just said that he doesn't want to do any science on it, that it would be too expensive. Too expensive. Too expensive. Well, I guess it's too expensive for the person he wrote the book for. You write a whole book claiming definitively in the title that X didn't cause X is X. And then you go on national television talking about all this stuff. You want to be the voice for the voiceless vaccines that can't defend themselves, and you haven't even done any testing?
And now we've learned that an attorney, this came from the New York Times.
Let's go back to before when he said that he's been combating this for decades. They never thought about doing any science. This is a scientist, and they haven't done any science. It's too time-consuming to even try to combat all these claims that Robert F. Kennedy just says out of his mouth. Oh my God, it's taken us decades to just refute his one claim, and now he's made 4 more. Oh my God, I've had to reproduce myself in the Rockefeller University lab several times just to combat all of these claims by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There are several clones of Peter Hotez walking around right now, running around right now into trees or into walls. They're saying they're doing science too, but if I just say I'm doing something, it doesn't really mean I'm doing science right now. Look at me. Woo! This is what I call science. I'm making science. This is difficult. It's taken me decades. It's taken me decades to do this. Where's my PhD? I need a Rockefeller PhD so I can go on CNN and Jim Acosta won't do journalism on me when I make stupid statements like, I don't want to do the science.
To withdraw the polio
Look at me, I'm still doing science.
vaccine, the hepatitis
Right.
B.
You know he's not listening. So what do you think he's thinking about? I think he's imagining himself as a minotaur with rippling, bulging muscles, and his sweat is flying around as he bulges out of his journalism suit to rescue the maiden from Trump.
Right. I mean, either you trust the experts or you don't trust the experts. And I do want to show this. I want to show this chart of polio cases in the U.S. The drop is absolutely dramatic after the vaccine was introduced in the 1950s. And then people will say, well, I don't trust that graph. You know, I mean, how do you break through that?
Well, the first thing you do is you put the arrow on the place where the vaccine began.
Let's do that, shall we? Dr. Peter Hotez, let's put that red arrow right there, big and red, to show everyone what is... But look, hold on. What is that? What is that? It looks like there's... What is that little arrow down there? What? It appears that there's another graph here. This is probably from science as well. Let me look at that. Oh, hold on. That's another arrow, yes. And this graph appears to be flipped around. Let's flip it around. Oh, hold on. There's some magic ink here. Let's get that right. Whoops. Good old science. Science! It works both ways. Science works both ways.
If you were to put that arrow, it's right at the top of the last peak, 1955. So within a year and a half after the polio vaccine was licensed, we had a 90% reduction in polio cases, because that's what vaccination campaigns do. And it's not unique to polio. I saw this firsthand as a pediatric resident in Boston. I went from admitting a child every couple of weeks with Hib meningitis, Haemophilus influenza type B meningitis, to having that illness disappear over the course of 3 or 4 years. That's how magical these vaccines are. We have to treat them with the respect that they deserve.
Just 1 minute here. This man worships science. He says in his book about his dream of being a scientist. He loves science. You have to trust the science. Trust the science. He doesn't even want to do any science. The man has had a dream his entire life to trust the science God. If this man's God is science, then he's killing it. He's committing Sciencide, deicide. He's killing his deity. This is Oedipus stuff. Clearly. This is clearly Oedipus stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I go get my flu shot.
Yes, Mr. Keyrock. Ah, yes. You. The name is Plop. Tell me. It's Plop. Okay? I'm not embarrassed. Go on. Plop. From your office, I have been instructed to give you all the information that you need on... The vaccine ecosystem encompasses the entire process and network involved in the development, production, distribution, and administration of vaccines. Here are the key components. 1, research and development. 2, regulatory oversight. 3, manufacturing. 4, distribution and logistics. 5, healthcare systems and professionals. 6, public health policy and funding. 7, public awareness and education. Here's where it gets interesting. This includes communication, educating the public about vaccine safety, efficacy, and importance to combat vaccine hesitancy. And media and advocacy. Use of media to spread information or campaigns by NGOs and health organizations. Essentially what Dr. Peter Hotez is doing right now. 8, surveillance and monitoring. post-market surveillance, ongoing monitoring for vaccine safety after widespread use, and epidemiological data. Collecting data to track disease occurrence, vaccine coverage, and effectiveness. So, if there are no trials, you are the trial. Get it? That'll be all you. It's not eugenics at all.
Every year, and I don't get the flu. I just wish people...
Well, after reading 3.5 chapters of Dr. Hotez's book and listening to this, I can say I have never heard a doctor use the words magic and miracle more. That would probably be in line with a doctor that doesn't appreciate doing testing, science on things. Rather just practice the jeans. Wow, I'm wearing jeans out in the public. And that is how a master of rhetoric operates. You don't have to thank me for doing this.
Understand that these vaccines do work, but Dr. Hotez, always appreciate your time. Thanks so much.